Oh, yeah, because I saw your show me like the PowerPoint is really kind of get a flow. It's really
Mhm.
smooth. So I think maybe for some people, if you want to have the alternative to do this assignment, maybe that's an option to choose. But
And I just have a free account. You can only have like a certain number of saved videos or something like that. It's a free app and a free account. And I don't need that many videos at a time, so it worked out.
okay, thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
That's cool. And so anybody want to share some like the challenging part? I saw Kim maybe has some challenges in doing this one. Do you want to say something? We can all help out. Hi, Kim. Can you hear me?
I just felt it was I've never done it before, so it was really hard to try to talk and make sure the screen is on the right slide and then changing slides and try to remember where I'm talking.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I totally understand it. Like that's my first experience with that. That's really messy. So probably if you need any help, after this session, we will like help out to really walk through how to record one. Okay, and how do you guys think about like the content and the whole activity work? Does it helpful for you to really stretch out your like all the opinions and what your selling points in your OET? I saw Chris said something about it's really effective to help you like chunk out. Do you want to share something, Chris?
Yeah, so yes, I found it very effective. It kind of felt like my OET was getting a little bit unwieldy as we were going through the multiple iterations. I was starting to talk about kind of not just the first steps of the plan that I thought I would be able to feasibly put into place soon, but I was kind of getting into further steps. And by making the pitch, I was actually really able to just get my innovation focused a lot more on exactly what I wanted to do now and just kind of focus on the main points that I thought were actually important.
Okay, gotcha. So how do you choose actually what to put or what to like eliminate?
Yeah, so I mean, I went through my OET, each of the different sections, and just essentially made a slide with each of those, and then I just wrote out a short script on each slide for each of those things. So by the end of that, I think I wrote on the discussion board, but I came out with like a 6-minute video, and so I just realized that I needed to get rid of some stuff, and I just went through and said, okay, this is definitely really important. I need to keep that. This is less important, and maybe I can eliminate this part. And I just kind of slowly eliminated a few different parts till I, got it down to the required amount of time.
Okay, thank you for sharing. And Chad, do you want to share some like your experience? You said you have a strategy to put a script, right?
That's right. Now, I've done a bunch of these voiceover PowerPoints for webinars and things like that.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've always found is if I'm doing something unstructured, I can talk forever because I'm a big mouth. If I've got points that I really want to convey and get them across, I make sure that I'll bullet point them in the notes section. I don't do a word-for-word script because I don't want to sound cold and like I'm reading something, but I'll bullet point the main things that I want to make sure that I hit, so that I go through and all of my points are covered, and I don't get too far off when I start telling random stories off to the side.
Okay.
The nice thing, so that I don't have to delete everything, if I know I'm going to be doing a project like this, I save it as a PowerPoint show. And that way none of my notes are visible to the audience. When they execute the file, it launches the presentation without them seeing the raw data from the PowerPoint.
Wow, thank you for your tech-savvy idea. And you're acting a real director for your page. All right. And so I'm going to share the screen with you again to talk about some like universal comments, like overarching comments Dave and I had for your page. And because the next week for the module 5, we have an assignment to submit your final version of your page. So we already offer you some like the revision feedback So you can like refer to your feedback and just to maybe record again or just adjust it a little bit and submit for our final version of your like a page. So here I'm gonna share with you the screen again to just to share. We have a quick sharing about our comments. It's really like the common comments we have for the whole, like the overall this works. First of all, I want to say it's really amazing because I cannot believe you all submit really structured like this page. It's much better. Even sometimes I really, it's so hard to compare, but I would say like it's much better than maybe the last semester we taught this course. Some of you students didn't really organize it in this structured way, but for most of you, we saw a really structured page, and most of you have really finished within 5 minutes, really reach a bar of it. So I'll say it's really effective because like this page idea, we kind of having this activity is coming from, I think it's a business style, like elevator pitch, right? So usually you only have 1 to 2 minutes to reach your, like your stakeholder or the leader or the, like the CEO of the company to really approach them in the elevator, have this 1 or 2 minutes during this elevator time and pitch your ideas to them. So this 5 minutes is kind of a prolonged one, but we want to have all the key points on the plate. So another thing, so that's a really good side of the overall pitch. And some like the common suggestions for revise it is we really want to make sure you align with this opportunity evaluation tool with your audio pitch. So let me use a metaphor like to explain this one. So your OET is more like a film. I say like the Chad is a director, make the script and really like shoot your film to include all your like the opportunity evaluation tool content in this page, but it's this audio page is more like a trailer of it. So it's really short, succinct, but contains all the like your selling points into it, and it's really attractive because they got all the information others want to know, but not include too much details. For later, they can really refer to this opportunity OET to look at that. So in this, generally in this audio page, we want you to like refer again to your opportunity OET, like what Chris did. Also kind of to think about what to include and what to eliminate, just as he just shared with us his experience. So some key bulletin points I put over here is you can start, those are all the like the suggestive components you should like maybe include in your audio page. Think about the need, the problem, and the mission. I think one of the big advantage in this course is just you learn from your peers. So I think Chad and Chris page did a good job in included start with a problem or the mission, like what you really identify to solve. And that's something also aligned with later we're gonna discuss about how to increase the buy-in of the stakeholders, right? So if you really align it with your like a problem or mission, that's also increase your buy-in. I'm sorry, okay, the second one is like identification of the innovation, like what is your innovation about. So I think also Katie used and Danielle also used a really rich visual to talk about their innovation, what's included and what is the content we really want to pitch about. And another thing, added values, definitely a lot of you have included this one. This is really important, like your strong selling point. And another thing maybe you can think about is marketability and the financial viability. Financial viability, we do not really, like at the stage, do not have a lot of numbers, exact numbers we have so far, but you can put some like estimate numbers if you know like the real cost, the budget, or some potential cost. For Katie's innovation as example, like there is maybe some potential cost for the device or for the professional training. So that could be the estimate one you put here. And there are some information you can get from your organization or maybe some research online to know some cost of the device, or from the financial department, like in your organization. That works. And also the capacity of the implementation, like how many people on board or how many stakeholders involved or the human resources you're going to use. And also the last one about the risks. So the risks, I didn't see much people put it. If you put it, this one is not really highlight the real, how much risks you're gonna really have, but maybe this one's actually, I think it's another selling point to talk about. You've already considered and analyze there is some potential risk over there. So just to see how thoughtful you have thought to plan when you approach to your stakeholders. So there are most of the innovations are about I think it's a pilot study, right? So most of it will just use missing the boat risk. So when you talk about them, you can also come up with your mitigation plan or alternatives, how to reduce these risks. Another two things, just a little minor things to remind, is to put your name or your title on the first slide as your branding, and at the last slide to put the contact information. So everybody, if they are interested in that, especially stakeholders, they know how to really contact you, or for the broader audiences, right? That is a really convenient information. And when you do the pitch about it, think about your target audiences again. If that is real something you've already had, it's a really great probability to implement it. So maybe Chris, you want to approach to your administrators, you already know a timeline, something like that. So just more use a tone to approach to your stakeholders. And if there are not, maybe just use me, Dave, and your classmates as your target audiences. So you can offer more the detailed information. So it is kind of really flexible on your, imagine this target audiences. So those are some overall comments on these pitches. So any questions so far, or any other comments you think for the next step to revise it? Can you give me a thumbs up or a sign? Okay, thank you. Dave, do you want to add anything to talk about his comments?
I've just put a couple things in the chat box along the way.
Okay.
Like different apps to use for recording. I'm not a real big fan of PowerPoint with the audio because from one, on Windows it works one way, and different versions of Windows it works differently, and it works differently on the Mac. So I tend to use one that I bought for home to produce a little bit higher end videos. It's called Camtasia. So for those of you working with a little bit more sophisticated product, that's available, but there's a lot of free ones out there. And then other comments that I put out there, like pilot studies, are very helpful for mitigating risk. And the thing about the presentation, and we call this to everybody's attention almost every single time we run the course, and that's contact info on the last slide. The presentation is not only designed strategically within the course to help you refine your idea and really narrow what you want to talk about, but also you can think about it in terms of, well, what if I were presenting this remotely and I was going to send this to someone so they could see it before I picked up the phone and called? So you kind of want to have your contact info on the last slide. That was it. All I added. Thank you.
For the tool suggestion, I was really wondering why I did it, why I have to use an old version of as audio pitches, because that's kind of a PowerPoint. I usually do not use that to make this animation one, right? Include the video. I try to use other a screen capture software. So I think this one is if you are comfortable with any, and that works the similar function. So just feel free to use it. You don't have to stick to this one, but just make sure you include maybe some slides with you, like put enough information for your audiences. All right, thank you. So for this one, we're gonna jump to the next one. Oh, Katie, have question? Yeah, go ahead.
I just had a quick one. I know that you mentioned when we were talking about the budget and costs and things, how some of us had like something that was free but might have some side costs.
Mm-hmm.
If, in my case, the iPads that my students would be using are already provided and maintained, all of that stuff by the district, is that something I should just say? Or should I actually find, because that cost is like a district cost that they use all the time, so it doesn't really have anything to do with my initiative exactly.
Oh, thank you for, I think that's really important.
Is that something maybe to clarify? And because I know it didn't really sit right with me because I couldn't really figure out how to take that note.
Yeah, I totally understand this one, because the reason why I ask this is when you post your page to our class, they may do not have this kind of information to know that you are in a one-to-one initiative and it's all iPad is kind of included and maintenance fees or they include something. So it's like more maybe friendly to mention one sentence or two sentences to talk a little bit about it. But I think to your school district, definitely that's already known information. You don't have to talk about it anymore. So it's really kind of a flexible, adjusted to audience's question.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna jump to the next one. I'm gonna share the agenda. Can you see the agenda clearly? All right. So let's see what we have on today's plate. We have this, first of all, tonight we'll have this breakout room discussion with your thinking partner to talk about what new science have you gained from your interviews. Since I watched the last session's recording, I saw some of you already done this interview, right? So maybe some of you are actually, our first draft is due by tonight. If you have already submitted, that's kind of like the reflection activity for you to really think about, okay, I've talked to this person for that long and there are lots of information, but what I really I learned from this person and what I really gained from this interview, and maybe there is something, aha moment for me to share with my class. I remember from the last session, last semesters of the class, there are a lot of people find, wow, the innovators actually, they do not think themselves as an entrepreneur. Instead, they are really humble or something. They think maybe this is just something they do normal in their life. So that's something they gained from their interview. So maybe those are some new sides. Also, you have some similar thoughts about here. So we're going to have this breakout room discussion with your thinking partner to talk a little bit about it and share out with the whole group. And the second one we're going to have tonight is about this aligned to our discussion board question. So what are your thoughts about buy-in and organizational mission? I saw a lot of you, because this week's module 4 is free, a discussion, but a lot of you have talked about organization culture, also leadership, also the experience or capacity of the entrepreneur. So some of you, maybe this question can be aligned to discuss with this one. We'll have this group discussion later. And also at the last, we will have a quick reflection for the whole class. This is our penultimate class. Actually, for the whole class, I cannot believe how fast it goes. So we will have this kind of a reflection thoughts about how your entrepreneurship, this idea from the first class until today, kind of how it evolved, and maybe share 1 to 2 pieces of your ideas. I know Sam and Ashok are really nice, always share their experience, how they learned, right? So, and what the ideas change. So that's a good a section for you to share out. So, okay, we're gonna move to our first discussion. Are we ready to go? Before we go, do you have any questions about our agenda, anything?
Xiao Yu, I have a quick question. How
Okay.
I put it in the chat box just so I wouldn't
Okay.
forget. How do you want us to capture when we're in the breakout rooms? Do you want us to capture our thoughts in a Word doc or on the whiteboard, or just remember it and then share out when we get back, or what?
I think because our thinking partner, then we'll have 5 groups, right? Hello, Dave. So
Yes.
maybe we'll just share out and maybe orally. You don't have to jot down, or you can jot down maybe in a chat box, or just use the old way, like the pen.
Yeah.
Because I think there are 5 groups, so we have to switch.
Actually, we only need 4 groups tonight because there's only
there are 4 groups.
participants, and I thought maybe we could combine Sam and Caitlin Charles this evening because
all right.
their thinking partners aren't here. Ashok is
Okay.
traveling, and Ashley I haven't heard from. So, and if you want to put me in that group with Sam and Kate, that's fine.
Okay, so how about like this? I just leave it free. If you want to use a whiteboard to jot down some notes, feel free. Just doing it by saving it and also share your screen with us later. If you want to like use the old way, pencil and pen, also feel free to do it. Let's keep it flexible. How's that? Okay. So Dave, now I'm gonna let me.
Yeah, breakout rooms button down in the lower right corner.
Yes, I'm doing it by moving the screen out. And
Oh yeah, you'll have to stop to
I
share.
have to stop share. Yeah. So the question again. So it's about what is your new sites gained from your interviews. So I'm gonna break you to the. Let's have 4 manually. Okay. I'm gonna assign you now. So share.
Can I recap the question in the chat box for everybody?
Okay. Share and Chris. Breakout room 2. We'll have Danielle and Katie, right? So 2, 3. We will have Chise and Kim. 4. So how about Kate and Sam? And we too, Dave, you and I will join in like a visit room, okay?
I can't move because you have the host this evening. I can't move from the room.
Okay,
then. So because Sam's and Caitlin's regular thinking partners aren't here, why don't you put me in their room and I'll just kind of stay there and then you can hop from room to room.
Oh, that's nice. To great have this power. Okay, so I'm gonna move you now. So ready to go. Okay.
Hi, sorry, I got kicked out somehow.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna assign you again.
Sorry.
No problem. Technical trouble.
something happen.
Right.
Hi guys, I'm just being the spy to check
All
out.
right.
So you can ignore me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And anything, I mean, yeah, so my project was actually with my boss, my boss / mentor, who's the program director of my residency and also runs the other educational initiatives in the Department of Neurology. So, one of the things, in all honesty, I mean, all of the things that I talked to him about were programs and projects that I was already very familiar with because he involves residents and me especially because I'm going to start taking over some of those things in the next few years. So they were all things that I was familiar with, and I just I know that he's a planner, and I just hadn't realized kind of all the steps that he had taken planning along the way. I mean, I think if I really thought about it, I probably would have recognized that, but and then the other thing that I thought was interesting was that he just kept talking about how it was all just, all just what he would say managing luck. And then he would tell me what actually happened. And there was probably a little bit of luck involved in that, although the majority of it was actually that he recognized that there was an opportunity, took that opportunity right there, and that's what he was interpreting as luck. But I think someone else who wasn't quite as motivated might not have done something like that. So, I mean, I think it's that idea of really seeing the opportunity up front is really important, is what I took from a lot of the innovations that he had.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're intending on staying in academia for the near future? Or?
Yeah. So, yep. So I'll be probably taking over as assistant director of the neuroscience course in 2 years, a year now, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then director in, 3 to 5 years. And then we'll see about the other stuff. But yeah, staying in academia, probably at Rochester for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I practiced out in California for a bunch of years and then came out here to get into academia, and it's kind of my intent to retire.
And then we adapt the program. So it was interesting.
I'm just checking.
Okay.
So I'm doing this fly on the wall.
Okay.
Ignore me. Keep going.
It was interesting to hear her talk about the digital initiative from the beginning, because I've only been at this school for 3 years. So I kind of came in the middle of it.
Okay.
But it was interesting to hear about some of the pilot phases that I wasn't a part of. And I really enjoyed, I think this lined up nicely with our readings too. When they did the pilot phase, they had teachers apply to be pilot, like host teachers kind of. So they knew that they were starting with people that wanted to implement this rather than trying to kind of force it on everybody all at once. So I thought that was interesting. And I also liked that she was aware of teacher feedback. And you could tell that she was really listening to everybody, because the whole K-12 right now has iPads. And from kindergarten up to, I think it's 2nd or 3rd grade, they have to leave them at the school. But then after that, they get to bring them back and forth. And next year, the high school is actually switching to like a touch screen tablet, laptop kind of situation. Okay. Because at the upper level, they've realized that the iPads don't do everything that they need when it comes to like research and writing wise.
Okay.
They just don't have the abilities. And they had gravitated toward the iPad at first because of all the educational apps and resources that were free and available. But now that people are really kind of honing in on it, it was nice to hear her talk about the fact that they're taking this feedback really into consideration, instead of just saying, no, sorry, we purchased thousands of iPads, it is what it is. It was nice to hear her say that they are, gonna repurpose some of the old ones. Like obviously the older ones will get sent back down to the elementary schools as they rotate new versus old software and things like that. But the high school will be working, and working through a new device, and that's going to be another kind of little hiccup in the road, but hopefully that will continue to progress and grow from there.
Okay. Yeah, that's a completely different world from the interview I did. So
mm-hmm. It's interesting. I mean, it's interesting to think about it in totally different cases and totally different environments.
Because Olivia's in the point now where they have employees working for them and teachers working for them. But that one of the last questions on the thing kind of threw her for the loop, like, what are you doing so that the innovation will continue without you. And it's something that her and her husband have been
What?
talking about. Yeah, because right now they're at the point that if we step away, there's no company anymore. And so they're trying to do that, but also struggling with, getting the people like our readings say that have to have that strong vision with you. And that's what frustrated me with the readings. All those entrepreneurs made it sound so easy to find people who are willing to put in however many hours and do whatever it takes.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I think about my coworkers, and I think about, most people who have family and lives and school and trying to balance. So who wants to work 60 hours for somebody else's vision?
Right.
So that I know that's where they are, and I think about where my organization at U of R is, and I'm trying to imagine or come up with where those magic people are.
It's interesting to think about it, that same kind of thing with when Mary was talking about it, because she was saying that when there was a question about like, what would you change? Or like, what would you change or what would you do over or something like that?
To not be on it. It's
Yeah.
funny.
Hi guys, I'm just checking out, be the fly on the wall.
No, you need to leave. Tayu, this is my son, Max Kifsa. He's popping in.
He's curious
Trying to
about
be
what
an
you're doing.
entrepreneur.
Okay, keep going.
So, this is weird. So, were you able to get him to answer the questions that
Some.
he answered? So, like, would you consider re-interviewing him or like sending him questions that he might be able to answer?
Well, actually, I ended up getting a hold of someone who also does a different project, Echo, and talking to her.
Okay.
So that helped out. She was almost the same way. I don't need a job. I'm trying to just interview you.
But does that I mean, if I were in your shoes, for example, and I was doing this interview with these people, and all of them that are doing these Project Echoes are all kind of saying like, oh, we need a central hub. To me, that would be like ding, 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 innovation.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that would be such a set point. Like, oh my God, like no one's doing this thing that all these people that are working on the same exact project all over are talking about. And they don't have like a local, like a central point of discussion, right? So to me, that would almost incite like a completely different new innovation.
Which it does, but I don't want to be like, oh, tossing this project starting.
No, of course not. But that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Oh yeah.
For the future.
So I ended up emailing the first guy back, and I was like, look, you got my wheels turning. I would be interested in doing something from the ground up, because then it really gives you that experience. So, when, if you're, gonna get anything rolling or, blah, 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 just shoot me an email or call me. I'd definitely be worth sitting down with you and, seeing if like I could really be useful.
Yeah.
So that'd be really
now,
cool.
I know you said he kind of like took over the interview and started asking you questions. Did any of his questions help you with how you're going to plan your innovation? Having questions from someone that's kind of on the outside of the project and hasn't really learned as much as like we have in class, did that help you gain like a new perspective on how you might approach your own innovation?
A little bit. It was because he kept drawing me towards this job that I should do. So I was like, okay, bring it back, And so it was rough. It was a rough interview for sure. But with the second interview, it was really interesting. I got together with a lady. They do, it's for more like people with weight issues, like anorexia and stuff like that.
File. Arg.
Hello,
Hi,
I'm
Joe.
checking out, guys. How's everything going here?
Good.
So we have the new thinking partners together.
Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm here.
So are you joining them like for the discussion, or you are also like me to fly on the wall?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the file that I just saved, and for some crazy reason I can't find it. New Insights, there.
Uh-oh.
Nope, here it is. I'm going to drop it in the chat box. See if you guys can find it. It's downloading now. It should show up as newinsights.docx.
It
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to open that, you can use that for quick reference when Jayu has a share out.
Oh, you guys jot down notes?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Dave did.
cool. Oh, wow. It's great to have the third, I cannot say
I know, right?
third person in this room, yeah.
Sam and Caitlin provided all the brain power. I just jotted stuff down.
Mhm.
Yeah, nice to have a note-taker, professional one.
Yeah.
How's everybody else doing? Are you ready to bring us back?
Yeah, almost. I think I'll give 2 more minutes, then we're gonna have this share out together.
Okay.
It seems they have a really heated discussion. Some of them have 2 interviews, so they're shared by sequence. It's kind of a one by one. Then there are lots of thoughts and ideas over there. So yeah.
Do you want us back on our own, or are you going to bring us back? You're going to force us back into the main room?
I have no idea how to go back on my own.
Down in the lower right corner, there's the breakout room,
Yeah.
Okay.
and that'll put you back in the main room.
So
It'd be a lot clearer if it just said go back to the main room.
Yeah.
how am I gonna bring them all back?
Yeah, you can just
Close all rooms, right?
rooms. Yep. But you might want to check in. You might
Yes.
want to send a message. You can send a message to everybody. So you're going to close the rooms
Yes.
in like a minute.
Dave, I like the notes you took.
Oh, good.
Thanks.
That could be the prompt for our summary.
Yeah. You know. It
Yeah,
got me
we'll
thinking.
have to be, because we've got other stuff to do, Ella. We'll have to be really time efficient with getting everybody to share out.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. No.
Were you able to send a message to everybody? I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't sent?
No.
Yeah, I saw it. 1 minute. I saw it.
Oh, it showed up for you?
Yeah, it showed up.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. I thought you could have trouble again.
It showed up. 1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So almost 9:12 now. I think the night it flies by when I start to talk. But when I listen, then I feel, wow, it's so long. That's a different perspective of seeing this one. Okay, so I'm gonna bring you all back.
Okay.
To the middle. Well, still here. Hello, welcome back. I hope you guys are able to wrap up your discussion. So now we're gonna share it out.
We're waiting for a couple of folks.
Right. I think there are a few people I lost them in another space. I think Chise. So I'm gonna check out with them.
Oh, they'll automatically come back
right.
within about 10 seconds.
Countdown, yeah, 10 minutes, so they'll all come back. All right, so for rest of you, just to be prepared to share out, maybe have one representative for your group to share out, and if you another one has something to add, feel free. So I have everyone, right? I will mute you for the background noise. I'm sorry.
Kim and I took our time because we wanted you to practice having to bring someone back in manually.
Thank you. That's a good test session. All right. So ready to share out. So we have we would like one person in your group as a representative to share out some maybe 2 to 3 pieces of like your new sites gained from your interview. So for another 1 year group, if you want to add something for free, okay, maybe who want to start? Okay, Chise.
So one of the things Kim and I talked about, that at least that I noticed, one of the things that we talked about initially was going back to that question of whether or not entrepreneurship can be learned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that doing my interview, I noticed a lot of things that the person I was interviewing was doing that were kind of aligned to the OET and the things that we've learned in class, even though she's never necessarily taken an entrepreneurial class in her life.
Mm-hmm.
It was just very instinctive to her to do these things, such as, research who the stakeholders are and the costs and presenting the values and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it almost kind of affirmed my belief that being an entrepreneur, not being knowledgeable in entrepreneurship or knowing the theory of entrepreneurship, but being an entrepreneur is more instinctive and instinctual than anything else. And it's more, you're kind of born an entrepreneur versus learning it. So more nature versus nurture. The other thing too, that Kim had mentioned that was, she said was difficult was when she was doing her interview and her interviewer kind of turned it around and started asking her innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to find out more about her, and she's had a difficult time trying to bring the conversation back around because the people that she was working with are also in health-related fields, so they were really interested in the things that she was trying to do in her innovation and kind of trying to tack on their part of their work onto what she was doing, such as she interviewed someone with the ECHO project that does a lot of ECHO. ECHO is having doctors in rural areas connect with doctors in urban areas. And one of the interviews she did was with a woman who works with eating disorders. And so the woman was trying to get her to pitch eating disorders in high schools, not just cancer, trying to add on to it. So I think just learning how to, I guess, conduct the interview, but also utilizing the interview for her own project and how she would do it.
Okay.
Does that sound right, Kim?
Is that right? So, Kim, do you want to add something, or that's for a group? Okay. Thank you for sharing. And because the time is limited, so I'm going to keep a little bit this moving. So maybe when you share out, think about your insight you're getting, or maybe something you want to share out to the group to also inspire others to know. Maybe think about this one and pick maybe 1, 2 piece of insight. Okay. So who want to go next? How about, okay. Chris first and then Kate. Okay.
So Chad and I talked, both of us interviewed people who we knew pretty well. And first of all, we talked about the fact that made it a much easier experience. I think if this had been someone that we didn't know, actually trying to learn about their innovations, I think would have been much more difficult. And then what I will say is, and I think both of us noticed this also, because we knew the person we were interviewing pretty well, we actually were pretty familiar with the innovations themselves. And I think what we realized was just how much process actually goes into the development of those innovations, that although they sort of look like they kind of naturally happen to us, they are actually, there's a significantly greater amount of planning that is actually put into that. And then the last thing that I'll just say about mine is that I mentioned the person that I interviewed had just kept using this term managing luck in his interview. And what I realized in the end was that was actually, it isn't luck that he was managing, it's that he was seeing opportunities and taking advantage of those opportunities. So although he was calling it managing luck, I think he was using one of those other entrepreneurial practices that had been identified.
Yeah, thank you for sharing also. From your sharing, I found a lot of you have this insider's view about this or the entrepreneur practices of the interviewees, and also like the managing log finally also tied to the practices, opportunities are taken by doing those things, right? Thank you. And how about Kate, for your group? You are with Sam, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Sam, Dave, and I, we kind of talked about Sam in his interview saw buy-in and the communication challenges and the value of feedback, and kind of the person he interviewed kind of navigating the traditions within the organization and which ones to keep and which ones to kind of, expand on or do something different of. And then for my interview, we talked more about how decision-making is challenging and it's not risk-free, that you have to, there's a lot of navigation within departments, within people, and just communication super, super important. And to kind of know that your innovation is correct in that state, be passionate about it, and that even if everybody's telling you wrong and you know that it's what you need to do, then continue doing it.
Okay, thank you. To how to address the communication with your stakeholder and the leader. Thank you. So how about for Danielle, your group? I saw you also left some comments up here. Do you want to narrate a little bit for your group?
The comments were in response to Dave's question, but when you popped in, Katie and I were talking about both of the people we interviewed encountered some struggles with the people in their organization that they work with.
Mm-hmm.
In our readings, however, it seemed like everybody had all these wonderful employees who shared their vision and they make all these amazing sacrifices. And I think both of the people that we interviewed ran into problems. And I know I see problems in the organization where I work. And so the question is, how do you find these amazing people who are willing to work as hard as you do under you or with you?
Right, that's really interesting idea, and also that tied to something you shared to, like the leadership, how to listen to people, to find those one who are willing to listen to others, those good leaders who can really embracing the new ideas. That's really hard, right? So that's a good insight here. Thank you. And thank you all for sharing this one. So we're gonna move to Dave. Do you want to add anything or do a summary?
I'm adding a book for those of you who are avid readers. I'm putting a book title in the chat box.
Okay.
Let me type it.
All right. Thank you. And all right.
Can I make a comment about the book? There's the title. Rosa Beth Moss Cantor is she's a Harvard prof in management and decision making and all kinds of neat things. She's been around since Methuselah. Phenomenal writer. That book is probably 10 or 12 years old now, but it's still just as timely as it ever was. And she talks about success loops, doom loops, and somebody brought up the comment about all these wonderful organizations like How to Change the World, and they attracted these people who are just as passionate as they are. And in fact, I visited a company this week that's very education active. They make optics, but they're very pro K-12, pro higher ed. And the owner of the business is a Simon grad and maybe even undergrad from U of R. And they're very pro education, and it's a very successful company. And all the people, I got a plant tour, and everybody's into their work, and it's just so exciting. And that's always been a fascination for me, because I know how tough it is to hire one person, and then you hire two, maybe three, and sometimes you get the right people, sometimes you don't. But successful organizations do it time and time again. And I just think it's fascinating. And this book by Rosa Beth Moss Cantor talks about some of that. So for those of you who are interested in that, that might be I used to use it in the course, but it was just too much in the 6-week period.
Okay, Katie? Yeah. Katie?
One of the teachers that I work with came from a business world, and then education is kind of his second career. And he was talking he's our team leader, and he was applying to be team leader again, and they're doing interviews right now and all this stuff. But he was even saying that when he was in charge of the business he was in charge of, he would much rather talk to and listen to the people who were complaining than the people who were like kissing his butt and telling him he was wonderful. Because if he listened to the people that were complaining, he could make things better. He's like, there's always going to be people that tell you you're wonderful at all times, but are not honest. So we were just talking about like finding a balance between like people who will support you, but also tell you like, no, this isn't working or this isn't good. And you have to trust them that they're being honest either way. So that's an interesting kind of tie-in.
That's interesting to share. Also, I have one resource. This article recently I've read about. It's also talking about the leadership, especially for those like the good leaders who always sometimes behave like a dumb. That is one principle, because they would like to be the dumb person to listen to others, like the creative ideas. So that's something give me a aha moment, because I think all of us, for some sort, are leaders in your field somehow. Even our teachers are leaders in our like room. How to have this kind of listening skills and always like have this yearn to learn. That's really important. Something like I share over here. Okay, and so we're gonna switch to next activity. Let me see. Let me share the PowerPoint. Maybe we do not share a PowerPoint. We just have this group discussion. And a group discussion, our topic is about what are your thoughts about buy-in and organizational mission. I think just now some like discussion we had so far already covered some topic here. And also I know the Sam's and Kate's group also touched this point. So maybe we just have this short discussion about 5 to 10 minutes on this question. This is something we want to use it to wrap up, maybe to gain some idea from your discussion board question. Okay, so Dave, do you want to say more about this question?
Yeah, is the question, could you put it in the chat box? It's to share insights about buy-in, correct?
Yeah, it's about buying. And sometimes you can also understand this question as a relationship between the buying and the organization. Oh, did I share it right? About the buying and also the organization mission. I'm gonna broadcast this question again in the discussion board. Sometimes this question, like the Daniel's organization culture, the discussion board, and also others question like capacity of learn of the entrepreneur also tied to this question. So I wanted you to have this kind of a group discussion to talk more about it. I'm gonna break out you to 4 groups. Add open all rooms, recreate. Maybe to 2. I think to 2, that's enough. So it's automatic. And then I'm gonna draw this question again. Okay, so we have, yeah, ready to go. Such a problem. I just want to make sure you understand this question well. So do you think that's clear question? Easier for you to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, then just get going.
So I think the better prepared you are and the more research you've done about the organization and its mission and the stakeholders within the organization that you're trying to implement your innovation, the better buy-in you're going to get, right? Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what you're trying to get to, Sayu? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think like this week we had a reflection on what makes an innovation successful, right? And I think the 2 things that I put that help make an innovation successful are research and planning. First, you do the research, and then you use that research to do the planning of your implementation. So you really have to like research and align your innovation with the missions of the organization that you're trying to implement it in. Otherwise, no one's going to want to do, right? If you go in, Chad, let's say if you went into your organization and they were very anti technology, which is obviously not the case. But if they were, and you were trying to implement your innovation there, they'd be like, wait a minute, no way, you're never going to get the buy-in for that, right? But if you go in knowing exactly what your organization is, their mission is and their goals and what they're like and the stakeholders within it, you're going to know how to sell it better, right? And get that buy-in. I mean, that's at least what I think. So for me, it's still like based on how much research you do and how prepared you are to have that pitch, that conversation.
I think it's a lot like going for a job interview almost. Same kind of concept is when I'm doing interviews for people, you know, I'll actually ask them some leading questions about some things off of our website to say, okay, did you actually research who we are before you applied for a job here? Because if you don't know who we are, why in the heck are you trying to get a job at this organization? So it's the same thing. You got to know who your audience is to make sure that it's going to be an effective pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the other thing is oh, sorry, go ahead, Danielle.
I just lost it. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, the only other thing I was going to say, just to GCA's point is, you know, I think there are times when you probably do come up with something that doesn't align with your organization's mission. And I think thinking about how you can then see the steps to kind of shift that mission to get to where you think it should be going. I mean, I think it's the same thing, making sure that you're still aligning with that. But when something is so disparate from what the actual mission is, they're not going to be able to see the connections there. And so when that happens, I think, you know, as an innovator, it's really your job to find steps along the way to help them to see those connections so that you can actually get to the eventual point that you want to go to.
That's a point.
Excellent.
One of the things I was thinking of is where's the line where people, if they already believe with your mission, in your mission, how do you get them to go with you all the way? Because in our organization, we're struggling as long as our innovations happen on campus between the hours of 8 and 5, everybody's on board Monday through Friday. If they start happening on Saturday or if they start happening off campus, we started doing home visits for all of our students. Now people are challenging whether or not those support our mission, when I think it's pretty obvious those things do. And we're having a hard time with some of the staff just because, you know, we're asking more.
One of the keys is to have to be an active listener and to always be in learning mode.
Yep. I'm just checking out. Like, does each of you have the chance to share out one opinion?
Almost.
Oh, almost. All right. Hello.
Are you going to bring us back soon, or how much time do we have?
2 minutes probably. So
Okay.
just check out, like each of you has a chance to share out.
Okay.
All right.
Sam, Kim, how do you guys want to jump in?
Well, what happens when you cannot get buy-in, you know, as hard as you try? Because thinking of Kate's interview and even my interview, you know, there are times when, as hard as you try, some people just don't agree with you, and you know, and you have to take certain decisions as a leader or as an entrepreneur. I guess sometimes you just have to do what you have to do, I guess.
Well, maybe if we're actively listening and people keep telling us that no, that's not the way to do it, maybe we kind of have to pivot a little bit and modify the idea. Just a thought.
Hi everyone, I'm doing counting down here. I'll see. Hope that's enough time for you. We're waiting for.
We've got everybody.
Do I have everyone? I think so. Yeah, 10 people. So yeah, awesome. This time is a little shrinked, so we'll have this on. How about 2 groups? Have like a 1 to 2, maybe people to share out for your group instead. Okay, so for this Shad, Danielle, Chise, Chris, who wanna share out for your group? I know there are different awesome opinions going on.
Chad looks like he's dying to go.
No, Chad.
Okay, please. We are looking forward to that.
Don't beat me.
You're going to remember that when she sees it.
My introvertness is kicking in, all right?
So we're talking about actually how it can be difficult to get some of the buy-in, particularly if you get somebody. The example was used. Danielle was discussing that. Okay, if you get somebody who has an 8 to 5 job, and sometimes this job requires a commitment outside of that, trying to get them to buy into something that's outside of their. Well, I want to be home with my family doing my own thing. You'll have to show them the value of what's the benefit of this. Why is it going to be worthwhile? There have to be some results tied into it. So it's, I think, to extrapolate a little bit, it's where we've talked a couple of times. If we're having a pilot project to show, hey, this does actually have efficacy. So yeah, it'll push you out of your comfort zone for a little bit, but we'll really see results that'll make it worthwhile.
Right, thank you. I think this is a really great question, how to have everyone on board, because from my experience also, that's really hard, especially for some technology innovation, to bring this new innovation to the organization. It's so hard for everyone really to accept it. So usually always seek for those people who are really interested in it, and you can see they have the passion to work with you on that. And maybe a pilot, if you get some success for it, and others maybe all come out to see the really a prominent result, and then they'll get interested and come to really talk to you again. So that's more really selling to just a small group of people, and then to the larger one. How about for other group? We have Dave, you have the Kate, Katie, Sam, Kim. Who want to talk or share for your group? Who didn't talk today yet? So how about Kim? I'm gonna have this cold call on you to share for your group. Are you okay with that?
Microphone.
Microphone, we cannot hear you.
Better?
Hi.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Sam had mentioned something about when you are trying to sell your, idea to someone and they're just no. And I had mentioned that when I hear no, I just find out what the problem is. Where's the hang up? Is there miscommunication and then whatever they're seeing and not liking, I just switch it around to something positive so that they do like it.
Okay, thank
I
you.
do it in sales all the time.
All right. So Sam, do you have anything to add?
Well, we talked about communication and active listening, that you have to listen actively all the time. And sometimes you have to look at things from multiple perspectives, not just from your perspective. You have to look at the people you're trying to buy in from, try to get to know them and how they see things. And it might be easier to sell or to get their buy-in.
Okay, thank you. So Dave, it seems, do you want to add something, Dave?
I was just adding a couple comments in the chat box, a typical thing for navigating buy-in is just handling, as Kim mentioned, handling the objections. People are going to object left and right. They're always naysayers, and learning how to listen and navigate and manage those. But also sometimes there's some really good suggestions. So bake those into the idea, into the concept, into the innovation. And that's a good way to get buy-in, especially from the people who are saying no. Well, if we add all these things that you just mentioned, would that make you a believer? And the other thing is there's a lot of selling to get buy-in. And selling really means teaching people what the value is and how they can use it.
Right. I think sometimes the buy-in also should really suit the style of the stakeholders of your approaching to. Like you, from the interview, really know the person and what this person is really thinking about to find what's his preference is and what is maybe the mindset he has. And will you kind of to fix or kind of adjust of your pitch to his style and to his or her concern, that also can increase the buy-in. And I also remember something like the book long ago you recommend to me to talk about the growth mindset of the leader, right? So for the leaders who has a growth mindset, which means they are really willing to learn, to listen, and they really didn't see a thing as a determined and cannot change, who are willing to embrace this kind of a change and help out, and kind of this person in the organization is a person I'm willing to approach to sell my point. So also identify the key person and who has this kind of a interest and a growth mind leadership person. That's also kind of, for me, I think that's also important. Okay, so thank you all for sharing in this discussion. We'll have, let me see, for the next one, we'll jump into our, some explanation to make some clarification for the next module. And also, since we have a little limited time, we thought, because it's a penultimate week of our course, so we'll have this, the sharing out for have your entrepreneurship opinion have evolved so far. So maybe we will shift it to a ticket out activity. So when you just leave out, that's like a really typical classroom activity, right? So will you just go out, take it out.
I'll make some notes in the chat box, take it out the door, share how your insights about entrepreneurship, I always have to sound this word out, entrepreneurship. Share how your insights about entrepreneurship have changed, grown, shifted, etc.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be lengthy. Just there are too many R's. There's too many E's.
Yeah. But before we do that, we will just make some clarifications, some
You're going to take us through the assignments for Module 5, right?
Yes. So we're going to have this quick explanation for this one. I know this Module 4, is a really heavy loaded one and a lot of assignments. As I went through, I really hate that workload. Every day I have to do the assignment. I'm kind of coming back to the middle school, high school students, like that kind of style. But I'm glad you survive. And for the next Module 5, we actually have to be honest, we only have one new assignment. So most of them are just to make some revision or just to continue to finish it. So some clarification for you is, so what you are going to review, so some new assignment, this is only one item, the final reflection paper, which is due by Module 6. So you still have lots of time to prepare for that. And that is an easy workload because you can use a lot of the synthesis from your previous discussion board and most of it from your journal reflection. So that one is easy to do, but better to review the direction. It's one in general information folder. So this is one of the major projects for this course. So just go there to look at this final reflection, to look at what is an expectation. If you have a lot of time left for this one, then you can just go ahead to do something, start to do it now. So this is one item for you to review to know this final reflection assignment, and look at another 3 bulletin points. This the first one, I know Danielle asked me about, so where to submit our revised video page. So here we go. So for the assignment 5.1, this is a place you submit your final OET and also your final video page if you want to make some changes. But pay attention that, so the final OET, when you revise it, what you should include is to find another color to highlight your revisions, just what you did before, okay? And another one, at the end of the OET, you should include the summary of your changes for this version, like what I did change. And another one, also a short reflection, maybe 1 to 2 paragraphs to talk about how did you go this activity so far and what did you really think about this OET and how is your innovation, like you're ready so far, something like that. So this is about assignment 5.1. So you're gonna submit 2 items here. I suggest you to submit it separately. So start 2 threads to submit it. So it's easier to grade. And so for the assignment 5.2, this is a discussion board. Why we use discussion board here is we want everyone to post your interview project to everyone in the class. So it's by Sunday time. Then after Sunday, your classmates can post their comments or their feedback to your interview project, at least 3 comments. So there is a little bit suggestion for you to go through the major project of the direction for the interview project again, if you're not really clear about what to write in this interview. So we have this kind of a sample, also the rubric included in the direction for you to guide you what to write. It's really structured, all right? Also, if you have any other question, don't hesitate to reach out to us. So for the assignment 5.3, that is to post your final report of your interview. So you have done the first draft of the first draft of it. So just finish your first part. And then the rest of time for this week to finish the part 2. And also we have another one is what you do, like your vignette, to put your self-analysis about, to align some like the innovation items, like the steps of the innovation, align with your own interview. Kind of like similar to this vignette activity to analyze your interview report. So is that clear for this one? Okay, could you give me some? Okay, thank you. So for the only new assignment for you to do is actually the weekly reflection journal. I know that there are a lot of works for this week so far. So for the reflection journal, you don't have to make it too long. Just keep it as just a little bit, 1 to 2 paragraphs, that's enough. So any questions? Feel so brainful, overwhelming?
GCA had a question in the chat box. I'll address this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's assignment 4 point something from module 4. Just post the same thing for assignment 5.2. That's so everybody has a place to comment on it. Mm-hmm. And then you'll use comments that people made on whatever it was you submitted last week. This prevents you from having to go back to module 4 to look at stuff or to send. We don't want everybody in the class having to go back and find it in module 4. So just repost what you posted in module 4 to assignment 5.2.
So the thing that you posted today, like that was.
Yeah, that's the easiest. Then you won't forget about it. But if you don't do it till tomorrow, that's fine too. Okay.
Okay. All right, so any questions? No, we're good. So, okay, then
I do have a question.
Okay.
I don't know if you couldn't see me. When we did our OET already, there's comments, like the side comments from you and Dave. Is there a way that we're supposed to get rid of those, or do we just leave them? Because like I've like read them, resolved some of them, explained whatever. Do I just leave them there? Is there a way?
Yes, just to leave them there because
leave
it's
them.
easier
Okay.
for us to see what's at
It's like Katie, it's like a running record.
Okay, that's what I figured. I just didn't know if there needed to be like a final copy official
Now
thing.
the third iteration will have you'll do a short 1 or 2 paragraph narrative at the end, in a different font color, and plus key takeaways, plus anything that you do change.
Okay.
You know, sometimes people have a big aha after the tonight's discussion.
Okay.
After the 5th week, and they say, "Oh, I want to change this in my OET." Now, most of you will probably be revising your pitches, which is fine. So just post whatever for assignment 5.1, just post whatever the most recent one is that you do this week.
Okay, and then when we copy over our interview notes, we're going to get comments and feedback on that, and then we're going to finish it? Like, then we're going to do the other part after?
When you post your the same interview assignment that you did last week, when you post that to 5.2, then that's where between now and whatever the due date is, your classmates will make comments. Read your classmates' comments before doing assignment 5.3.
So before doing the other parts, like finishing the rest of it?
Correct. Yep,
Okay.
because that will provide insights for you. Oh, I never thought of that. I should have thought of that question. And then so you're really taking the knowledge and the insights from a collaborative process from your classmates and helping to make your interview your final interview narrative better.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Danielle, I think you had a question there. Yeah, we don't need a pretty copy of the OET. Just keep iteration 2 plus whatever's new. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, for addressing this question. So the only thing is like the out of the door, the ticket question.
Yeah, ticket out the door.
Yeah, ticket out of the door. So the question is about like what have your opinions about this entrepreneurship have evolved so far? Okay.
Yeah. How have your insights about entrepreneurship changed?
Yes.
Yep.
And I know Kate and Kim, if you need extra support to do the audio PowerPoint, please just reach out to me by email. I will schedule a session with you. Maybe we can do together or one-on-one, which one you are comfortable with, like this week. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to save the chat and share with you to the learning management system, Blackboard. And when you're done that, I will say good night to all of you. Kim, like your spirit of keep learning, always have this growth mindset to learn more. And I found our course more like seeds planted, and then it's kind of a bloom for you to learn more and more. Let's see, present for. Move from business model to an opportunity model, Shad. I like how you put it this way.
Some of these you may want to refer back to. So when Xiaoyu posts the chat, this could be informative for your final reflection. Now,
Yes.
Clarification on final reflection, that is not due between this week and next week. So when you're reading the final reflection directions, oh my God, I've got to have this done by next Wednesday. No, I think we've provided either 4 or 5 days after we have our last class meeting next week. So there's a few days, I think it brings us like into the first weekend of July or Sunday, June 28th or something like that. There's 4 or 5 days after next class to finish that up. Wow, a lot of neat insights. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So,
All right, guys, if you want to hang around, we can carry the conversation on, or we can let you go and
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yes. And I'll see you next week
Next
for our
Wednesday.
last session. Yeah, next Wednesday.
Bye, guys. Great conversation
Bye.
this evening.
Thank you for this evening.
And Xiaoyu, you can stop the recording.
All right. I'm going to save the chat first. Okay. Let's stop recording.